What's the strangest date you've ever been on? It was my second date with this guy. And he said the exact same things that he said on the first date. Word for word. The same stories. The same random thoughts. The same questions. It freaked me out so much that at first I played along and answered in the exact same way. As though we were both following some weird script. Eventually I tried to break the mold and ask him new things. But he would just bring it back around to the same topics as last time. It was like I was in a computer program and there was a glitch. Still freaks me out to think of it. I went out with a girl to a nice Japanese restaurant. I got there first and waited at the bar. She walked in, saw me, and walked out immediately without a word. I went outside and asked her if she was okay and she told me I can't really be in there right now. We went to an Irish pub instead. And had some very awkward small talk filled with long silences. After about 45 minutes I told her I thought it was pretty clear that this wasn't working and we didn't have to stay. We could just go. I took her back to her car parked at my house and we said goodnight. Right before I opened my front door she asked if I wanted to get a drink at the bar across the street. I said sure. We had a great time. Got hammered. Went back to my place and had brain melting sex. We've been married 10 years now. She has some pretty serious anxiety issues that come and go. And for whatever reason the crowd atmosphere at the Japanese place really set it off and it took her some time to recover. Probably one from about 5 years or so back. I had just moved to London. And met this guy on a dating website. He was generally not my type. Still. I was fresh out of a long-term damaging relationship and trying to meet new people yada. Yada. Fast forward to the date. And he takes a call from a girl and he says to her, oh I'm just in the pub with male roommate's name. I can hear her on the other end getting worked up about something and him telling her to calm down. Alarm bells already ringing. He hangs up the phone and says it was my fiance. But not a real one. Just one I'm with for her visa. At this point I'm already thinking bloody hell. He continued on with his excuse she also lives with me, in his 2-bed apartment with this other roommate, cozy. Oh yeah. I should probably tell you I'm getting married in 3 weeks. At this exact point. I just said well. I'm going home and start pulling on my coat. His reply was even more classic. Do you want to help me buy groceries first? Met girl on Match. She showed up 20 minutes late. I had to excuse myself so I could hide out in the bathroom and write down as much of the batch tea crazy things this woman was saying before I forgot. Topics included, but were not limited to: daddy issues, her mother loves her brother more, miscarriage, being married before, when we start dating, when we are married, setting me up with her assistant, how she'll FCK me with blood on my face, things she does when she's high, Brazilian trance music, adopting children, what's my dog's name again, how she doesn't trust animated movies, why she was 20 minutes late, owning a business, when it's acceptable to use the C word, being a vegetarian, her blind cat, her dying uncle, abusive relationships, the city of temper, free range urination, and can we order tater tots? We didn't go out again. I went on a date with a guy in my apartment block, only to see his disappointed face when my girlfriend called me on the way home. I realized he'd assumed I was gay and that I'd assumed he was just a friendly guy wanted to hang out. The first time I ever used Tinder was also my worst experience with Tinder. The date itself was fine, a little stiff, but fine. Typical questions like what are you studying? Where did you grow up? Etc. We ate dinner and I didn't plan on meeting up with him again. The next day I got a text from him saying, hey. I text him back hi. He asks me what's up. I say not a whole lot, what's up with you? End up getting a huge paragraph back talking about his creative process for writing and trying to direct a specific type of PRNO where women crush rats and tarantulas between their breasts. Internet date. At a bar. First time meeting the guy. He tells me over a bowl of eggplant chips that he's so good in bed that the last woman he boned spontaneously lactated from the mind-blowing pleasure of it all. So did he make your titties leak or not? Got asked out by a girl I knew and was sort of interested in, but didn't really know all that well. We went to an open-air jazz concert. Not really my thing, but sure. Once there she immediately was all over me, hugging, sitting on my lap, etc. Things were going great, or so I thought. It was at that point when things started getting weird. Several band members were giving us strange looks from stage while playing their jazz music. One piano player was mouthing things in our direction, but I couldn't make out what he wanted. People were rude to me for no reason whatsoever while getting drinks. Long story short, my date knew just about all the people there and wanted to get back publicly at her very large boyfriend for cheating on her. Don't hate on me, Jazz CKS. I'm just an innocent sucker. Awkward ending. I met them both later that evening at the train station and she pretended not to see me. Don't hate on me, Jazz CKS. Well, I'm definitely stealing that line. I went on a Tinder date with a guy who is now in my contacts as Donaton Swip in his pic. Prior to the date he seemed normal. We texted and talked on the phone, then arranged to meet at a restaurant bar. He was cute but definitely bitter about something. He was from California and apparently didn't like this new city we were in. He started talking about sex and blowjobs and complaining about how uptight everyone here is about sex. He invited the waitress to a party his company was throwing. After sending back the French fries he ordered, I showed him a picture of my dog on my phone. He took out his phone and showed me a picture of his penis. We walked out of the restaurant together to get our cars from the valet. My car came first and I left. He texted me later that he had my sweater. Apparently I dropped it on the way out, and if I wanted to see it again I'd have to hang out with him. RIP. Sweater. I met a guy from OkCupid. The first time we met up in a public place and just had a casual chat. It wasn't a horrible date, but it wasn't very memorable either. I decided to give him another try because it could have just been nerves. The second date he invited me over to his place. I knew he lived with his parents, but I kind of assumed they'd be away. They weren't away. They kept coming into the lunch room and giving us iced tea and chips whilst he played Xbox in his track pants, no shirt, and I sat there awkwardly watching. He didn't really speak much to me. It was 11 PM, and he was in his 30s. TLDR. His mum and dad brought us drinks and snacks while I watched him play games without him really speaking to me. He was 34. He took me to the opera. Except we never actually got there because, not knowing the area, we didn't know exactly where it was or how to find it. Later I realized we actually were very close, but the opera hall was surrounded by scaffolding, so we didn't recognize it from the photos. Instead we went to Pizza Hut. He spent the entire night talking about website design and computers, which was sort of fine as I'm somewhat interested in those things. But he didn't talk about anything else and, at points, seemed more like he was interrogating me. Afterwards he said we couldn't go out together because I knew too much about computers. It wasn't an unpleasant evening. It was just a bit strange. Matched on Tinder with a guy who decided that a great story to tell in detail on our date was about the time he fisted a lady and tore her up so bad inside that she was bleeding profusely and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. After he was done telling the story, he told me he was glad I told him I was super squeamish, because now he wouldn't try to show me pictures of all the blood he had saved on his phone. He also said he had been on well over 100 Tinder dates, and I had managed to land in his top 10. I never talked to him again. There's nothing like Ascretic topics to make a guy feel like he's an absolute steal. Edit. Nothing like piggybacking of a top-rated comments to ride that sweet karma train. Had a good friend in uni who disappeared overseas for a year after we graduated. I stayed there to study and teach. And one day I got a text from a number I didn't recognize saying, "Hey, it's Joe from business school. Want to catch up for a coffee? Hadn't seen him in ages, so I said yes very enthusiastically. I walked into the coffee shop at the right time. Look around for Joe. And there's Joe from business school. A different Joe from business school. I couldn't walk out because he'd already seen me. So we chatted politely for an hour and we've never talked since. I met this guy originally at a cocktail bar. We went to dinner on the first date. And then for the second date we went to a comedy club. The first problem was he kept nudging me when I laughed. Like I was embarrassing him. Of course. I was irritated by this. But tried to tone it down since I still had 2 more hours to sit through. Halfway through. He's just acting real nervous and then the MC gets up on stage and says welcome Brad to the stage. The guy I am on a date with is not named Brad. Brad is his stage name. He goes up on stage. And proceeds to make 2 incredibly racist jokes. Tables turned. I was embarrassed and nervous for the rest of the show. Joke was on me. We didn't go out again. This was in high school. Some girl from our rival school and I met. Hit it off. She really wanted to see the movie Happy Feet. The dancing penguin sh*t. Decide to take her. I like penguins anyways. I swear about halfway through the movie she leans over to me and says, "Oh, I get it. They're dancing." Full stop. I thought she was trying to be cute. But she was goddamn serious. This movie was her idea. I figured she knew. The F-King penguins were dancing for at least an hour before she said this to me. We lasted another week. In 2001 internet dating hadn't really taken off here. So this happened as a result of a personals ad. I was newly single and feeling pretty frisky, so took a chance on a Mr. Wrong. 24. Seeks Miss Right ad. We corresponded and spoke on the phone before meeting and everything sounded okay. I was misled quite badly. Paul was more like 48 than 24, a paunchy, hasty, bargain basement Freddie Mercury lookalike. Being of Italian heritage, he was staunchly anti-racist but thought homophobia was fine. He got drunk and wanted to take me to the circus. It was a really uncomfortable experience, but I managed to escape with just one cheek having been slobbered on after he slurred "You're really cute." I was having surgery that day, so I told her from the start I was gonna need someone to drive me home after my surgery. I picked her up and we went to the duck pond to feed ducks. Then we went back to my house and chilled in the hot tub, and one thing led to another. Ended up having SI time. After that I had to go get my surgery. She sat in the waiting room for the 2 hours while I had my surgery. Post-op I was super high and I guess I requested her to come in. Apparently the doctor was there and I loud whispered to him, "Please don't tell her you're a doctor cause you make a lot more money than me. And I want to keep her. Next month is our 3-year anniversary." Edit. Girlfriend asked me to add in the part where I said, "Hey, come here. Let me tell you a secret," and then kissed her on the cheek. It's 2001. So VHS and chill at this girl's dorm room. My first time over there. And there is this giant bear on the bed. Like. Got the softball in the milk jug at the carnival first tier bear. It occupies 50% of the surface area. I say, whoa. How'd you score that bear? Huh? I don't know. Me. What? Huh? I don't know. A few minutes go by. Me. You don't know? Huh? Yeah. Me. Okay. Look. It's okay if it's from an ex. I don't care if you stole it. I'll believe almost anything you tell me at this point. But there is no way in hell you're going to tell me you don't know where that giant bear is from. I had a stuffed dinosaur one-stroke for that size that I got when I was 6 and I could tell you every detail about how I got it. Huh? Well, good for you. But I don't know how I got it. Are you going to be able to let this go? Me. Looks at bear. Bear stares back. Wasn't necessarily the date. Which was bad on its own. But the fact that she hung out in my parking lot for 2 hours after she dropped me off in case I changed my mind about doing something after dinner. Went out with a customer from my work. I was a bartender. So I got hit on quite a bit. But this was the first time I'd actually gone out with someone. He took me to a bar near his apartment. The place was really dive-way and a little too hipster for my taste. But whatever. We were having a great time talking and enjoying some drinks, when I suddenly noticed the TVs behind the bar. Instead of playing sports or the news or something, they're playing old PRN movies. I brought it to his attention, and he kinda just shrugged it off and said it was normal for this place. I actually thought it was pretty cool, and this joint became one of my favorite bars, more for the cheap alcohol than the PRN. But it was still a really strange place to bring someone on a first date. Edit. This was at Double Down Saloon in Nick's East Village. But apparently it's not super uncommon for bars to show PRN in the background. Second date. Went zorbing. Anyone who doesn't know what it is, you get strapped into a giant inflatable ball and rolled down a hill. It was awful. The ball wasn't inflated properly, so every rotation you hit the floor it hurt. It was wet, so there was water inside the ball, and we had to jump out at the bottom of the hill into a puddle, so wet sock galore. The whole experience was horrible. Gave us something to talk about though. Been together nearly 4 years. You. That was the worst date ever. Them. You wanna go out again? You. Yes. Have had 3 separate dates. With 3 separate women that all turned out to either be Christian revival meetings or Young Life. Hot girl from class randomly walked into my dorm room. The door was normally open during the day. She was in the building visiting a friend and saw me playing guitar, so she came in and started flirting. She asked me to meet her at a nearby bar that night at 10, so I agreed. I get there at 10 and she introduces me to her boyfriend. I finished my beer and went to the bar my friends were at. Edit. Awesome. Thanks for the gold. Edit 2. Yes, I misspelled bar, but at least I got it right the first time. Edit 3. She was definitely always flirting with me by touching my shoulder while talking and flipping her hair and always approaching me. Actually, she wanted to show her boyfriend how a man should be. I met her online. I said I'd meet her at a mall near a Sky train station. She told me to look for the yellow Jeep. I walked over to her and said we should grab a coffee in the mall. She said she lived in this neighborhood and her family didn't know she was a lesbian and asked if we could go somewhere else. I reluctantly agreed and go in the car. She sped out of the parking lot and started to panic that someone would see us and begged me to get on the floor to hide. I'm an idiot, so I did. She drove to a restaurant in the gay part of town. She spent the whole meal talking about how gross butch women were. There was one less than a foot away from us at the next table, and repeated like 12 times that she only dates Asians because they're submissive. I'm not Asian. Met a guy online. The date started out normal enough. Hibachi for dinner. Then ice skating, which was really fun. I thought the date was over, but he then proceeded to drive me to a local landmark, park his car, and play Rascal Flatts through his car speaker. He wanted us to dance next to his parked car. I obliged for a minute because I was a wuss who didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings. It got weirder when his voice started coming through the speakers. He had recorded himself whispering sweet nothings to me over the audio of the song. After the date, I avoided him like the plague. He got pissed and started harassing me about ignoring him. It was kind of scary. Met through a co-worker and he seemed excited to take me on a date. He picked me up from work, and when he did, he spotted another co-worker who's a super nice guy, just very metro and short. Proceeded to call him a Fruit Loop over and over, implying he was gay. Then took me through a Wendy's drive-thru and wanted to sit in his car and eat. I paid for my own food. Then drove me back home and wanted to know why I wouldn't FCK him. Unbelievable. To this day posts about how women don't want good men and he just wants to spoil his queen, yada yada. Dumbus. Never talked to him again after that. My female friend went on a blind date. The guy showed up to a restaurant after running 5 miles but didn't shower or change clothes. She thought that was weird but decided to stay. He orders a Caesar salad. She got her dinner. Next thing she knows, he's eating the salad with his hands. Just grabbing Caesar salad and shoveling it into his mouth. Salad dressing dripping from his mouth but carrying on a conversation like nothing was wrong. She went to the bathroom, paid the waitress, and didn't return.